Welcome to Everyday Martial Artist, a weekly podcast where you'll join me, Brian Doucette, as I interview a different martial artist each episode and hear their story. Some guests you may have heard of, and some you probably haven't. Be sure to subscribe where all your favorite podcasts are available. Also visit our website at everydaymartialartist.com. If you're listening for a specific interview, I sure hope you'll stay and check out the other episodes. A very special thank you to Topher Williams for our custom theme music. And now, the newest episode of Everyday Martial Artist. Everyday Martial Artist is brought to you by KOOnline.com for all your martial arts needs. Sparring and safety gear, rank belts, uniforms, weapons, patches, and more. Wholesale supplies made by martial artists for martial artists. Visit us today at ko-online.com. Hello and welcome to Everyday Martial Artist. I'm your host, Brian Doucette, and as we do every Thursday, we're joined by a brand new guest talking about their life and their journey throughout the world of martial arts. My guest today was born in Portland, Indiana. He's a martial artist, actor, author, instructor, and more. He studied at Ball State University, earning a bachelor's degree in physical education, also earned his master's in kinesiology at Memphis State University. He's the author of a college textbook on karate and kinesiology. He was play-by-play commentator for UFC #1 in 1993 alongside former guest of the show, Kathy Long. He's been elected to the Black Belt Hall of Fame as Tournament Karate Fighter of the Year in 1973 and again as Man of the Year in 1978. His film credits include such movies as A Force of One with Chuck Norris, Continental Divide Neighbors with John Belushi, The Protector with Jackie Chan, and many more. He continues to teach seminars across the U.S. and abroad, one of which I was lucky enough to attend almost 30 years ago. I don't throw around the term legend too often, but my guest today definitely falls into that category. Please welcome the man they call Superfoot, Mr. Bill Wallace. How you doing today, sir?
I'm fine, sir. How are you guys? I hope you're freezing up there.
It's not good. Like I said, we're in the middle of a blizzard. We're supposed to get about 8 inches of snow, and it's the first day of spring was yesterday, so I'm not happy.
Yeah.
Luckily, it's supposed to be like 20 degrees.
I'm looking at a cloud right now. I'm sorry, but I'm looking at the cloud. It's about 75 degrees down here.
Oh.
And nice breeze. I'm in wonderful Boynton Beach, Florida. Just absolutely gorgeous weather. I'm thinking about taking a swim, but I'll just talk to you instead.
Just rub it in.
Yes, sir. I shall do that.
I hate winter so much. But hey,
this is the funny thing. Think about this. If God would have wanted us to be in freezing cold weather, he would have given us a fur coat like he gives the bears and all these other people. But what do they do in the wintertime? They sleep through it.
That's right. You should tell my wife that. We should not be living in cold weather. You convince my wife to move and I'll come visit in Florida.
Here's the funny thing. Your wife probably says, well, my family's up here. That's why they make airplanes.
That's right. Airplanes are nice. Well, how we like to kick off the show, I want to go back to the very beginning. I want to know where that first spark came from, that first interest in martial arts that kind of kicked off your journey in the world of martial arts.
Well, in 7th and 8th grade, I was in junior high school in Lafayette, Indiana. And I played basketball, and I was about 5'5", 5'6" at the time. And if you know anything about Indiana, it's a big basketball state.
Oh yeah.
And I was okay, but I wasn't great because I was short. And all of a sudden, my freshman year, some guys said, hey, why don't you go out for the football team? Now, understand, as a freshman in high school, I weighed 89 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah. If I turned sideways and stuck out my tongue, I looked like a zipper. But anyways, I said, sure. And I was the long snapper, which means I would center the ball back to the punter or center the ball back to the place kicker, right?
Mm-hmm.
The reason I was the long snapper, I was the only one stupid enough to keep my head down and snap it back. Back then, I'm talking 1959, 1960, there was no 3-second rule in high school. As soon as you snapped the ball, the guy could cream you.
Wow. And
I did several, but I never lost a snap. I never lost a snap once.
Nice.
So that was fun. Then football season's over, and I'm thinking, well, I'm way too little to go out for the basketball team. So I'm walking down the hall one time, and I look in this room, and I see these guys rolling around with each other on a mat. So I walk in, I says, what the hell is this called? Now, I didn't say, what the hell is it? What's this called? He says, Coach says, it's called wrestling. I said, oh, wow. It's kind of fun. Can guys my size do it? He says, how much you weigh? I said, about 89 pounds. He says, yes, because we started at 95 pounds. 95 pounds and work up. I went, wow. So, I watched for a while. The next year I came out with my gym gear on and everything and started wrestling. Wrestled my freshman, sophomore, junior, senior year in high school.
Nice.
And did fairly well. I was the only one in 1 year to beat the state champ.
Wow.
So,
okay.
Yeah. So I'm still wrestling is still my first love. People will say, well, what about well, if you understand, wrestling is a martial art. It was probably the very first martial art.
Exactly.
So, but I still love it. Still go through some of the moves. Still teach it a lot of times in my Superfoot seminars, and we'll go through some wrestling moves. Takedown. Well, the number one takedown in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is a double leg takedown.
Yep.
And it's also the very first technique you learn to defend. So, that comes into play. Nice. And then I graduated high school, and my friend, who was my best friend in high school, says, hey, I want to join the service and fly airplanes. And I went, what? He says, yeah, I want to fly airplanes. Well, the recruiter never told us that you had to be an officer to fly airplanes. He just said, sure, you'll be able to. So, of course. So I joined the service. Oh, yeah. But, hey, choices that were given, right?
Yep.
But anyway, so I joined the service with my friend in June. June 10th, I sign up. I take the oath. I'm stationed in Lackland Air Force Base, Florida, Texas.
Okay.
I go through basic training, and I get stationed at Chanute Air Force Base in Rantoul, Illinois. And my friend at that time, who I never have seen again since that time, is stationed at Shepherd Air Force Base in Texas. So I go to Rantoul. I go through the training there, and then all of a sudden I get stationed at Wordsmith Air Force Base, Michigan, my permanent base.
Okay.
So I arrived there at the end of November, the 1st of December. And if you've ever, those people that are listening, if you're in the service, you have two choices. You either find something to do after you get through working, or you go get drunk with your buddies. Well, number one, yeah, it's true. Number one, I don't drink. So I said, I got to find something to do. So I walk across over to the men's gym. And I said, excuse me, do they have a wrestling team on this base? I just got stationed here. He says, well, I don't know what they're doing, but a bunch of guys are rolling around on the mats in the back. So I walk in the back, and I see these guys rolling around, throwing each other all over the place in their little old white suits. And so I stand up, being a brash 18-year-old kid. I said, excuse me, does anybody here wrestle? And the guy gets up. I didn't know what a black belt was at the time. He says, yeah, you wrestle? I said, yes, sir. He says, well, I'll wrestle you. So he takes his little white uniform off, or white pants, the gi top off. Mm-hmm. And we wrestle. I take him down a couple times, put him on his back a couple times. He says, hey, that's pretty good. I said, thank you, sir. Now put this little white coat on. We're going to do it again. So I put this little white coat on. And you know what flying status is?
No.
But anyway, he threw me. I bounced off the walls. I bounced off the ceiling. He choked me out. He armbarred me. He threw me. I said, what the hell is this called? He says, it's called judo. I said, wow, this is fun. Because wrestling is a major part of judo, not just the throwing, but the holding down, the chokes, and the arm bars. So I fell in love with that part of it. So I started doing that. Then I get stationed from there. I get stationed at King Salmon Air Force Base up in King Salmon, Alaska. I'm there for a year. And now my judo is put on hold because it's an isolated outpost. I come back. From there, I get stationed at Kadena Air Force Base, Okinawa.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I was all over the place. Nice. So I'm over at Kadena working out. It's on a November day, and I'm over the gym working out, playing judo with some guys. And at that time, I understand I weighed about maybe 130, 135 pounds. Okay. I'm working out with a guy 180. Now, there's the fact that they will tell you in any kind of sport that there is, a good big man will always beat a good little man. Mm-hmm. And so I'm working. I come in for a throw called a seotoshi, which is a body drop. Mm-hmm. He stepped over my leg to counter me, so I stepped through his legs to do a trip, which is called an uchigari. He collapsed and tore my right medial ligament on my right knee to pieces, just mangled it. So that's and I'm in a cast for like 6 months. Wow. So I'm all downtrodden, knowing that basically because this is 1966. Mm-hmm. So you can imagine your surgeries that happened in 1966. It was like end of working out forever. Yep. But anyway, so I asked the doctor, I says, he wants to operate on it. I said, what's the chance of it being normal if you don't operate? He says, 50-50. I said, what are the chances of it being normal if you do operate? 50-50. I said, doc, put it in the cast. I'll try to get by. So he puts in a cast. Now I'm walking around all forlorn and everything. Mm-hmm. And the guy said, hey, there's a karate school downtown. Let's go check it out. So I said, okay. So we go downtown, Naha. We're in this karate school watching these guys work out. And this guy walks up with a black belt on and says, hey, you do karate? I said, what? He says, you want to do karate? What? And my friend says, do you want to do karate? I says, well, I got him in a cast, but he said, no problem, stand up. So I stand up. He said, we do yokogiri. I said, what's a yokogiri? He said, side kick. We do side kicker. So he showed me how to do the side kick, and I stood there because I was in a cast. I couldn't move. So I did about 15,000 of those things that night, it seemed like.
Wow.
And that was it. And I go home. I go back to the base. I come back the next week. He says, "Oh, you back?" I said, "Yeah, I think it's kind of neat. I want to watch." He said, "No problem. We do Mawashigiri, roundhouse kicker." So I stand up the same exact way, and now I'm practicing a roundhouse kick. Do about 15,000 of those things. After a couple months, I get my leg out of a cast, and I start coming to train. And we're working out, doing all this, striking and punching and kicking and forms and katas and wasas and stuff like this. And then finally he says, "Oh, we do kumite." Okay, no one of those Japanese words. What's kumite? He says, "We spar, we fight." Whoa, timeout on the field. You're telling me this reverse punch that we practice at Gakuzuki, Seikenzuki, Oizuki will kill somebody? Yes. And this shuto, this haito, all these techniques that we're practicing can kill somebody? Yes. And now we're going to try to kill each other? No. We do kimi. We focus. I said, "Oh, what's that mean?" We throw the punches, we just barely touch. Oh, sort of like slap boxing. Yeah, something like that. Okay. So I'm sparring with one of the guys, one of the higher ranks. Well, I was at nothing at the time, but sparring with one of the higher ranks. And I throw a side kick at him, and he backs out of the way. And I brought the heel around, thinking he's going to take my face off. Brought the heel around and caught him right in the solar plexus with my heel. And he goes down. He jumps out. "What you do? What you do? What you do?" And I'm standing at attention because you don't hit the higher ranks. And so I said, "Well, I threw the side kick at you, and you backed out of the way, and I just brought the heel around so you wouldn't kill me." He says, "Urumashigeri, hooky kicker, a hooky kicker." So those are the three kicks that I've used all my life: side kick, round kick, and hook kick.
Wow.
With the left leg.
That's
and
awesome.
then I started, then because my right knee was very, very bad, and I didn't have the surgery, I had to protect it. So I had to fight sideways and to keep the right knee away from me as far as it could, because I didn't want to be swept, I didn't want to be kicked, I didn't want to get landed on or something like this. So everything became sideways. All the techniques became sideways. The back fist, the ridge hand, the jab, hook,
Wow.
side kick, round kick, hook kick. So that's where it all came from. Then I get out of service because there was no competition over there. Not 1960. It was in 1966 when I got back.
Okay.
So I come back and I'm stationed at Norton Air Force Base. Now here's the thing I want you to think about: the choices. I'm thinking my martial arts career is over because now I'm back in the States where there was no martial arts in 1966. Very little if there was. So I'm at the base, walk around. The guy said, "You do martial arts?" I said, "Well, I used to. I did some judo and did a little karate." He says, "There's a karate school downtown. You want to go check it out?" And I'm, "Yeah, hell yeah." So we go down now. People don't realize, but Joe Louis and I were in the same system in Okinawa.
Okay.
He was showing you Shoryu in Naha. He was at the same school. He was there a year and a half before me. So that was kind of neat. But I get back to San Bernardino. We go downtown, and it's a Shorin-ryu school of karate. I went, wow, what are the chances of that? So I went in and started training. I think it was in maybe November, something like that. But worked out November, December, January. And the 1st of February, the instructor, Mickey Janek, says, "Hey, there's a karate tournament this weekend in Santa Ana. You want to go?" And I said, "Yeah, sure. What's a karate tournament?" And so we go to the karate tournament. He said, "It's just like sparring, just like we do." Because back then there was no equipment. There were no hand guards, no foot guard, no shin guards, no forearm guards, no headgear. So I said, "Okay." And I'd never sparred before, and I took second place.
Wow.
Yeah, the guy that beat me was a kid named Jim Bottoms.
Okay.
As soon as he won the tournament, he got promoted to black belt. So I said, well, that made me feel pretty good. Now, at this time, remember, I was only still a brown belt because I started late. Then later on in October, I think not October, in March or April, Chuck Norris had a tournament in Las Vegas. And I went to that tournament, took third place. So, and I was the only one from my school that gained anything. But, I think it's from my wrestling background. I just like to spar, like to move, And then I got out of service.
Did you ever compete in judo back then?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Matter of fact, I took second in the when I got back to the States. I didn't do it in the service because they wouldn't let me, because if I get hurt, they have to pay me forever and ever and ever.
Right.
So when I got back to the States, I took second place in the Indiana State Championships in 1970. But then tore the knee up again. So that took care of my judo career. But anyway, I get back and I'm just hanging out at Ball State University, going to school there. And I'm over in the men's gym. just doing doing a couple punches, a couple kicks, moving around. And this kid walks up to me named Harold Rollins, not Harold Rollins, but Robert Rollins. He says, "You do martial arts?" I said, "Yeah." He says, "There's a bunch of us getting together in Indianapolis this weekend. It's about 60 miles away. And we're going to have a workout this weekend. Why don't you come down and play with us?" Again, okay. Now, again, the choices that we're giving, right? So I show up there that Saturday morning. Now, I don't know if you know these people or not, but I worked out with that morning, Saturday morning. I meet Parker Shelton, Robert Bowles, Glenn Keeney, Jerry Brown, bunch of the stalwart Indiana people.
Okay.
And we got together for about 5 or 6 hours. We just sparred, and beat the living shit out of each other.
Nice.
And had a blast. Glenn and I became best friends, and Ball State is on the quarter system. So we go to school for 10 weeks. We'd have 9 days off. 10 weeks, 9 days off. Well, after about the first 9 days off, I'm going, God, this is kind of boring because I don't have any studies to do and I'm home. So I said, what the hell are we doing here? So I talked to Glenn. I said, Glenn, you have a karate school. You can take a vacation when you want to. Why don't we take off for 9 days? We'll drive as far as we can in 4 days, stopping every night at a different karate school. Back then you could do that.
Yep.
And come back a different route. So first time we did it, we went from Muncie, Indiana, or not from Muncie, but from Anderson, Indiana to St. Louis, from St. Louis to Kansas City, Missouri, from Kansas City, Missouri to Omaha, Nebraska, from Omaha, Nebraska to Lincoln, Nebraska, and then from Lincoln, Nebraska to Denver, Colorado.
Wow.
Then we drove south and came back through Albuquerque.
Nice.
And had a blast. I did that for 4 years. Wow. And I think that had a little bit to do with my training because you spar with different people. You learn all kinds of different attitudes and different ways they do something.
That's awesome.
But, we did that for 4 years and had an absolute blast. And in the meantime, we started sparring in tournaments. And because of my, I guess, martial arts back, my wanting to win at any cost, not any cost, but just my competitive attitude because of the wrestling background, the judo background. I won my first nationals in 1968.
Okay.
So and then you started fighting and competing and winning tournaments and traveling all over the place and had an absolute blast. Won the nationals. I was 3 times national champion, 70, 71, 72, and 73, and then 72, I moved down to, here's a story for you.
Okay.
You talk about choices that we're given. I'm national champion, number 1 in the nation, according to Black Belt Magazine. I go to a tournament in Memphis, Tennessee. Connery puts it on. It's the first time I've ever been to an all-Korean tournament. Well, I didn't know because in the Midwest, they didn't have those. I go to this tournament. I'm the only one in the entire uniform wearing a black uniform. Yeah, exactly. But I win my division. Mike Warren wins his division. Albert Cheeks wins his division. And George Reynolds wins his division. Yeah. So I said, hey, wow, this is kind of fun. So now this is what's funny. Listen to this. There's about 4 hours for the fight time because we're through like at 3 o'clock and the final start at 7. My friend is there, Jim Locker. He's my lawyer. He says, let's go out to Memphis State and check out the university. I said, okay. So he drives me out to Memphis State. We're walking through the men's gym. Now, understand, this is, let's say, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the afternoon. What department head is in his office at 5 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon?
Yeah.
Exactly, right? Nobody.
That's crazy, man.
And we walk in there, and Dr. Humphreys, the chairman of the department, is sitting in his office. Jim knows him, so he goes in and introduces me to him. We're talking back and forth. He says, when do you graduate? I said, I graduate this summer. June, I graduate. He says, what are you doing next year? I said, well, I have no plans. He says, would you consider being a graduate assistant here at Memphis State University? I said, yeah, love to. Sounds fun to me. So I fill out the application. I hand it to him. I go back to the tournament. Again, I'm fighting Mike Warren. This is my opinion. And we bow in. I step across. We hit him in the head with a hook kick. And I said, this is going to be easy. And all 4 judges, the flags go up. The head judge comes and says, Mr. Wallace, I saw it. No allow, kicks to back of head. We're in tournament, right? And I went, okay, I'll just do it again. So I step in to do good. He jumps up and throws a reverse punch. And I lean side because I'm already sideways, right? He punches me in the arm. He falls down. No flags, nothing else. Head judge walks up to winner free and goes, up goes the flag. I said, what the hell? He walks up, up comes another flag. Point. And I went, what? Now I'm going to kill him. I take my shot, beep, time's up. I said, how can time be up? 30 seconds went by. That's it. He says, a running time, Mr. Wallace. can't be that fast running time.
Wow.
But I said, well, that's right. So I said, you know what? So I wanted to win the tournament because I just, for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, you know what? And I've never done this before. I said, you know what? You can take your tournament and ram it up your ass. Oh. So Connery grabbed me and says, Mr. Wallace, we had double elimination. So you come back, you beat George Reynolds, you beat, Albert Cheeks, you fight Mike again. Really? Yes, sir. Okay. So I fight Mike and I fight Albert Cheeks and beat the hell out of him, which I apologized to him for later. Then I fight George Reynolds and beat the hell out of him. And I said, now, do I get to fight Mike Warren again? He said, I saw it, Mr. Wallace. But Mike Warren not lose at all, and you only lose one time. So Mike Warren champion, you first place. You said I get to fight him. Oh, I saw it, Mr. Wallace. So now I blow up, and I tell him where to go, and I leave. I fly back to Muncie, Indiana, and I'm not thinking anything about it. About 4 days later, I get this letter from Memphis State University. You have been accepted as a graduate assistant to Memphis State University. And I went, oh, gosh. Now, I'm married. I have a son on the way. And I'm going, okay. So I talked to my friends around Memphis area. And I have one of my friends, his name's Mike Small. He had a school he was just getting ready to start in Memphis. He said, I'll give you the school. I said, great. So I drive down with my wife to Memphis, Tennessee. Yeah, I find out where the school is. I open the doors and go inside. Really freshly painted school, really nice. There's 18 names on the list. I call 18 names. One person answers. I went, oh. Now, again, my wife's getting ready. This is in May. My wife's getting ready to have a baby, my son, Eric, May 31st. Wow. So I said, oh, what am I going to do? So I'm thinking what to do now. I'm going to make $150 a month from Memphis State University as a graduate assistant. That's it. Well, the apartment that we found cost $250 a month. That was as cheap as we could get. So what am I going to do? Well, my wife was teaching, so she had some money, but I said, no. So I said, you know what? Again, given the choices that we're given, I drive over to Conway School. I go in, knock on the door. He comes, I said, Mr. Wallace, how are you doing, Mr. Wallace? Why are you in Memphis? And I said, well, sir, number one, I want to apologize to you for acting like such a dick and such an asshole at the tournament. I wanted to win your tournament so bad. I just wanted it to look good in front of the people. He said, no problem. I understand. Why are you in Memphis? I say, well, I just accepted a graduate assistantship at Memphis State University. I'm going to teach at Memphis State University. I'm going to set up the karate program, set up the judo program, and work with the wrestling program. Oh, Mr. Wallace, I pay you $750 a month. You teach my people how to fight.
Wow.
What? Listen, I on a stack of Bibles. He said, just turns to me nonchalant, says, I'll pay you $750 a month. You teach my people how to fight. Now, understand this is 1972.
That's good money back then.
$750 plus $150 from Memphis State. That's $900. And that's tax free.
Wow.
I go, all I had to do was learn his stuff, and still teach him how to fight. I said, sir, I'll do it. So no matter what anybody says about Connery, he saved my life.
Wow.
Yeah, he saved my reputation. Otherwise, I had to quit and get a job. And then we're there, and I'm teaching for him. That next February, they have a tournament in Texas called the U.S. Championships. Mm-hmm. Alan Steen puts it on. I was the defending champion. I go to the tournament. I fight. You ever heard of Skipper Mullins?
Oh, yeah. I know who Skipper is.
Yeah, okay. Well, I fought Skipper for the Grand Championship. He's Texas. He is Texas. And I'm a visiting guy from Indiana, right? And so we go up, stand on stage. He's the lightweight winner. He weighs more than I do, and I won the heavyweight division because we decided we'd go on different weight divisions so we wouldn't fight each other. So that's that. And Ed Daniels is the head referee, and he says, Bill, before we start, look around, look who the officials are. In one corner, there's Chuck Norris. In the other corner, there's Bob Wall. In one corner, there's Pat Burleson. And the other corner is Jim Harrison.
Wow.
All four of them are best friends to Skipper Mullins and Ed Daniels. He said, Bill, now understand I'm from a fairly affluent family. I've never been in a fight, not a fight,
Mm-hmm.
And he says, you know what you're going to have to do to get a point? And I looked at him quizzically, and he says, you're going to have to drop him. And I went, oh, shit. And Skipper turns to me and says, yeah, Bill, if you have to, if you just stick it in there. And I went, holy shit, can I go home now? But anyway, so we bowed in. Very first move, he came in, he tried to sweep me, and I have a good counter left hook kick. He came in, I caught him right in the solar plexus with the hook kick, dropped him, and he's on the ground. Skipper says, or Chuck Norris says, no point, hit him in the arm. So I said, okay. Skipper gets up, and he says, good point. I says, I didn't give me a point. He says, what? He said, hit your arm. He turned to Chuck, opened his uniform top, his gi top, big old heel print on his solar plexus. and I said, Skipper, no matter what happens the rest of our life, you and I are friends forever. And we remain friends. Nice. Well, he's dead now, but we remain friends. And then I won. It was between he and I who were the best kickers at the time. Mm-hmm. But I won the match 3-2 in overtime. Wow. And well, yeah, we had a blast. And then I get home. I'm in Congaree School teaching that Monday night because there's no rest for the wicked. Mm-hmm. And I'm teaching class, and there's some commotion out in the foyer. And we look over there, in walks Elvis Presley. Nice. And people don't realize he walked in with his entourage, right? Mm-hmm. And he wanted to meet me because people didn't know this, but he was at the U.S. Championships in Dallas because Ed Parker was there. Ed Parker was there too. Yep. And Ed Parker was Elvis's teacher. So he wanted to meet me because I'd won the tournament. So we talked for a couple minutes and so forth and so on. Because at that time, Chuck was just a point tournament fighter. He wasn't doing his films yet. You're right. Wow. And then so I go blah, blah, blah. So I go back to teaching, so forth and so on. Then I graduate. I want to a bunch of more terms. I graduate in 73, right? 73, 74, and I go back to Indiana because my father always wanted me to be a school teacher. So I'm teaching up in Indiana, and I get this phone call from Mike Anderson and from Joe Louis, and they said, "Bill, we're going to go over to Berlin, and we're going to fight at the end of May." I said, "Great. We're going to have a blast. I'm for it. I'll be the middleweight." He says, no, Bill, you don't understand. It's full contact to the knockout. I said, you guys have a wonderful time. Right now, I can throw a kick or a punch and think I could kill you. I don't want to have to prove it. And they kept talking. Now, back in the old days, I don't know if you're familiar with this or not, but we respected our seniors, right? Yep. Okay, well, Joe Louis was my senior because he was there a year and a half before I was in Okinawa. So we're talking back and forth, and Joe says, Bill, you're going to do it. I said, God, come on, Joe. I don't right now. It's just fun. You're going to do it. Okay. So I said, okay, I'll do it. And probably an hour later, maybe less, I'm teaching class. My friend, my student, Herb Johnson says, Bill, you might want to take this phone call. So I go get on the phone and say, yes. And it's Red West. He says, just a minute. Elvis wants to talk to you. So he said, Elvis says, I want you to come back to Memphis. I'm going to open up a karate school. I want you to be the teacher. And I said, well, I can do that. And he said, he told me he was going to pay me off and then give me a car and all this stuff. And I went, wow, okay, I can do that. So the funny thing is, now I understand my father always wanted to be a school teacher because he was a school teacher. So I said, how am I going to get asked? Because he'd already set up interviews for me to interview for the superintendent of public schools and all that stuff. Yep. So I said, what am I going to do? So I called my father up and I said, Dad, put Mom on the phone. Exactly. And I said, Mom, I know Dad wants me to be a school teacher and I'm going to fulfill his wishes. But right now, I just got a phone call from Elvis Presley. He wants me to come back there and teach for him. Mom, you there? You there, Mom? My dad picks up the phone and says, what'd you just say to your mother? I said, Dad, you know how you want to be a school teacher, right? Well, I'm going to have to put that on hold for just a little while because Elvis Presley called me up and wants me to come down and teach for him. Dad, you there? So my wife and I moved down to Memphis, and I'm teaching at Memphis State University. I'm teaching at the Tennessee Karate Institute. Then all of a sudden Ed Parker comes down because now we go over to Berlin. We go from Berlin up to Holland. We travel around competing and fighting all over. I come back. We have the World Championships, September 14th, 1974. About 2 weeks before that, Ed Parker calls me, Elvis's instructor, and says, Bill, I really would appreciate if you wouldn't do this kickboxing thing. Why? Well, it's not good for karate. It's not going to look good for karate. I said, but sir, it is because I'm going to do a lot of kicking. There's not any brawl. You know me as a kicker. I'm not a puncher. I don't want to straight shots with. I don't want to stand toe to toe and bang with somebody. I'm going to be doing a lot of kicking. Well, I really would appreciate if you wouldn't do it. I said, sir, I've already given my okay. I got to do it. I got to find. It's like they said in Dirty Harry. I got to know. So I did it, and don't make it sound like a brag, but I was the highlight of the fight because I did all the kicking. Knocked a couple of guys out with kicks, knocked everybody down with kicks, and then came back and celebrated over. Then my first title defense was against Joe Corley in Atlanta, and I won there. And then CBS calls me up. They said, we want to focus with you doing fights. We want you to sign a contract with us to where we'll promote so many of your fights. And I said, is this with CBS? They said, yes. So I'm thinking millions and millions and millions of dollars, right?
Yeah.
Well, not at first. And they said, we can only pay you so much at first, but if you're worth what we think you're worth, you'll make it at the end. I said, well, okay. And, got lucky and I never lost. And they were right. I made more since I retired than I ever have being a fighter. Look at all these guys that made millions and millions and millions doing boxing and this MMA stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And now they have no job at all.
Yep. And you fought, 23-0, if I remember correctly?
23-0, yeah. 23-0.
What was your hardest fight out of those 23?
What
was the toughest one?
Every one of them.
Really?
Every one of them, yeah. Well, see, because I was fighting on national television, on
Mm-hmm.
CBS Sports Spectacular Live, they couldn't give me a Bum of the Month club.
Right.
I had to have a guy that was pretty good. So they said, this is, so it looked good. The best time I had, I'm getting ready to fight a guy named Gary Eden. His name is Gary Eden.
Yep.
Yeah, he's from North Carolina. And I was supposed to fight Steve Shepard, but he broke his ribs. So he was a stand-in. So I'm in the room warming up, getting ready for the fight. President of CBS Sports comes in and says, Bill, I need to talk to you. And I said, okay, I'm there. My corner's there. Everybody else is out of the room. And the referee, a guy named JT Will. And I said, what can I do for you? He says, this is kind of awkward, but I need you to promise me that you'll take this guy at least 5 rounds. What? He said, I need you to promise me you'll take this guy at least 5 rounds. Does he know this? And he says, no. The reason for that is we have so much money put into this event. If you knock him out before the 5th round is over, we can only show the knockout so many times. Then we have to pay somebody else to come in and fight. We don't have that money to do that right now because we're paying you such a man now. And I say, well, I'll do my damnedest. And the crazy thing is, so we're out there at JT Wills. No. So JT Wills out there, he's the head referee.
Mm-hmm.
This guy, Darius, comes tearing across the floor. I lean back, I counter him with a left hook, catch him right on the button. I mean, he's out cold. Now this is maybe 20 seconds into the fight. He's out cold. And I go, oh shit. Now the president's running around and said, you tell me what you got, I'm sorry. I won't even look at him because I'm scared, And JT Wills going, 1, 2, he's going to count it to 100. But anyway, about the count of 8, he starts shuffling a little bit. He gets to his knees, bip, into round 1. And I went, so the president runs over my goes, I said, I'm sorry, it won't happen again. So now here's the crazy thing. We go back out. I carry him 9 rounds.
Oh, wow.
They finally stop it in the 9th round. Black Belt Magazine comes back, and the next issue says, Wallace is losing it. This one goes 9 rounds because before they were shooting. And then, what do you get? You can't tell him. I said, well, I carried him. So I went, well, but if you think about it, look at all the fights that, pay-per-view now.
Yep.
That they go more than 5 rounds or more than 10 rounds. Yeah, because these people are paying all this money to see the fight.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Just, yeah. And then I just fought over in Europe, fought in front of Monte Carlo, fought in front of Princess Grace and Prince Renier.
Nice.
In 1978, and came back and did the movie with Chuck.
How many of the 23 fights were on CBS?
I would say 16, 17 of them.
Wow. That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. The funny thing is you watch boxers and they defend their title maybe once a year or something like that.
Yep.
In 1970, I think it was 1978. It was 1977. I defended my title 5 times in 1 year.
Wow. Oh yeah.
Well,
I'm looking at it right now. Holy crap. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, the crazy thing is because I'm a defensive fighter. So, I don't want to get hit. It hurts. I've been there, done that, didn't like it at all. So I'm not afraid to back up, I'm in a ring. So, I can't go too far, but I would back up. I get out of the way and then counter the guy when they charge in. So I wouldn't get hit that much rather than stand there toe to toe banging with each other. So I didn't get hurt. Lucky for me in all my 20 fights, I never got injured.
Wow.
Got lucky.
So you mentioned the movie. What led to that? Was that Chuck or?
Oh yeah, Chuck. Yeah, I'm in Memphis, Tennessee, working out at the tennis at TKI, and all of a sudden, coming up the stairs, it's upstairs. Chuck Norris comes in. He was up in Cape Girardeau with a couple of his schools doing some testing.
Okay.
He wanted to come to Memphis and work out with me because we never sparred. And he come to Memphis and he comes upstairs and says, "Hey, I came to see what you do and talk to you and see how you're doing." I said, "I'm fine. How you doing?" Now, understand, I'm getting ready to fight in Monte Carlo, so I'm at the top of my game. And Chuck says, "Could we spar?" I said, "What?" Chuck was not a kickboxer, but he could have been. But anyway, he said, "Could we spar?" And I said, "Yeah, I'd love to." So we kicked everybody out. Nobody was there. We locked the door and we sparred for about an hour, hour and a half.
Wow.
Now, we beat the living shit out of each other.
That's awesome.
Had a blast. Nobody will ever know what happened. He's not going to tell anybody. I won't tell anybody. But we had an absolute blast.
That's so cool.
And then, yeah, we're sitting at the end of it, just sitting there having a Coke. And he says, "I'm getting ready to do a movie called A Force of One. I need a really good bad guy. You look like you'd be a good bad guy. I want to fly you out to LA, talk with the writers, talk with the director, and see what they think." And I said, "Well, I would love to. As soon as I get back from Monte Carlo, I would be glad to." He said, "No problem." So I went to Monte Carlo, knocked the guy out in the fourth round with a side kick to the ribs. Broke his ribs, as a matter of fact. But anyway, so I came back. Chuck calls me up and says, "Can you come out next week?" I said, "Yes, sir." So I went there, flew, talked to the director, talked to the writer, and they said, "You're it. We want you." So that October, 1st of October, I drove out to LA. And, we did the movie. October, November, December, and January, we did the movie. Force of One. I was the bad guy. Yeah, had a blast.
Oh yeah, and that's such a cool movie. That's an iconic movie for any martial arts fan knows that one. And yeah, and you were awesome in it.
Oh, hey, I died really good.
That's right. Hey, it takes a good actor to pull off a good death scene.
Oh yeah, I shuddered with the best of them.
That's awesome. So obviously you enjoyed it because you did more movies. You kept doing it. You kind of shifted then from fighting to movies for a while.
Well, yeah, because this was 1979. By the time we finished the movie, at that time I was 35 years old, and you don't heal like you used to heal.
Right.
You start looking at things, and if you start easing up, something's going to happen. At that time I was hungry. I wanted to win. And the training was very difficult, because I have to keep the flexibility up, keep the strength up, keep the movement up. Plus, the older you are, the more you get bruises and they last longer.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. How was working with Jackie Chan?
He's a very nice guy. We had a ball. The crazy thing is, if you read the script, mm-hmm. I'm a retired world champion mm-hmm. in the movie. He's just a normal New York City police officer. And when we have our fight scene, we're going to choreograph the fight scene together, right? And he says, "Well, when you do this, I'll do this. And when you do this, and I'll do this," like the typical Chinese type of them, block, 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 hit, mm-hmm. block, 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 a hit, right? And I said, "Well, Jackie, according to the script, I just retired from being a world champion. And you're just a regular police officer, right?" "Yeah." I said, "Shouldn't I, for the first 3/4 of the fight, just beat the living shit out of you and just kind of like play with you?" And he's backed up and says, yeah, it should be that way." So we choreographed it to look like that. Nice. He cheated. He hit me with stuff that he's not supposed to hit me with. He broke bottles over my head. Hit me with a steel bender. Wow. I was going to sue him, but I said, "No, I won't." No, it was in the movie.
That's awesome. So now thinking back, you started teaching in, was it the late 60s?
I started, Memphis State, I started teaching in 1972.
Okay. So think about that to now. You're still doing seminars, everything. What do you think's changed about your teaching style the most over the years?
Okay. This might not sound real good. But it's honest.
Okay.
I fight sideways. I try to teach the people sideways. If you're going to use your front leg to do kicking, to do a lot of kicking, you have to almost be sideways because the side kick comes from the side. Mm-hmm. The front leg roundhouse kick comes from the side, and the hook kick comes from the side. Yep. Ironically enough, the back fist comes from the side, and the ridge hand comes from the side, right?
Yep.
That's it. Now, in kickboxing, the kicks haven't changed at all. But the jab now still comes from the side, and the hook still comes from the side. Look at Floyd Mayweather. Mm-hmm. He fought perfectly sideways. He had 49 fights and never lost.
Yep.
So, and I try to teach people, be sideways, the side kick, the roundhouse kick, the jab or the ridge hand or whatever, all these. And they're so intent on doing it their way that it comes out wrong. So, and I used to work so hard on doing it that way. Everybody, half the class was teaching the flexibility so that you get the knee up. Then all of a sudden I said, well, let's work on the combinations this time. You don't have to throw it to the head. Because ironically enough, when I talk to people, as much as I love kicking people in the head, 13 of my knockouts was a side kick to the ribs.
Wow. That's impressive.
Yeah. Hard to fight when you can't breathe.
That is true.
So, and ironically enough, you throw a kick to the head bobs and weaves and gets out of the way fairly easy. Mm-hmm. Whereas the core, the ribs, the stomach, the chest, and so forth is stuck right there.
That's cool.
So then work with the combinations, but I have a blast doing the seminars and I have a lot of repeat business. So that's good too.
So is it true? I thought I read this somewhere that when way back when in the seminars, you used to actually spar every single person that came to your seminar?
Used to spar everybody. Anybody that wanted to, just to show them how the movements really work, the speed and everything. All of a sudden, like the late 90s, I'm doing a seminar in Charlotte, North Carolina. It's a Korean seminar. Mm-hmm. So this is all primarily. And I say, anybody want to spar, we'll spar. And there's always one guy, this.
Oh, yeah.
There's always one guy that says, I'm going to get him. And it's usually not even a black belt, it's a lower belt. So I'm watching, I'm trying to figure out who it is. And I see this big old guy, he's about 6'5", 250 pounds, sitting over in the corner. I said, there he is. There he is. So I sparred 3 or 4 guys that had trouble. Then I said, we only got time for maybe 1 or 2 more. Anybody want to spar? And the guy jumped in. I want to spar, Mr. Wallace. And I said, okay. So he stands up next to me. He's 6'5", at least 250.
Wow.
I'm 5'8", weigh 165 pounds. I said, okay, you're 6'5", 250. I'm 5'8", 165 pounds. Number one, I don't want to get hurt. Number two, I don't have to try to hurt you. So let's just play. Tippy, tippy, tappy, tappy. You hit me a little bit, I hit you a little bit. We learn with it, okay? No problem. Yeah. So we bow in and we're sparring around. He comes charging. I hit him with a counter hook kick. Just all it does is sound like a smack, like you clap your hands together.
Yep.
That made everybody stop and watch us. I went, oh God, here goes. So you can all see like a bull in a china shop. Here he is walking, and here he comes. So I hit him with the defensive side kick and I drop him. I pump him back up. I says, hey, I don't want to get hurt. And I don't want you to roll over me because I don't want to get fallen, you to fall on me. Oh, okay. Started moving around a little bit. Well, everything's fine. Then I fake a low round kick. He drives in. I kick him in the face with a high round kick. And again, it goes smack. And I said, oh shit, here he comes. And he came through and I hit him with a defensive side kick again and drop him again. This time I just let him lay there. Finally, he gets his wind back. I said, maybe you should better go sit down for a while. Oh, yeah. So one more guy comes up and that's a tippy, tippy, tappy, tappy type thing, of course.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think anything about it, because it happens all the time. There's always somebody, right?
Yep.
So I get home. About 2 days later, I get this letter. Dear sir, my client informs you that I broke his ribs. So I give it to my lawyer, and he writes back and says, dear sir, my client is 5'8", 165. Your client was 6'5", 250. Sir, they were not playing tiddlywinks. And that was it. Never heard back from him. So I said, you know what? Why take the chance anymore? Because I don't want to get mad and have to really drill somebody. Because
right.
I did. I tell them, I said, I didn't get this reputation by being a dork wimp. But everybody tries to clock you. If I get a freebie, then they say, well, I could have beat you back then.
Of course. Wow, that's crazy though.
But I love it. I'm in Minnesota. I spar a lot of guys up in Minnesota. Have a blast.
Oh yeah. So what led to you decide to start writing some books?
I was at Memphis State University working on my graduate degree. Mm-hmm. And one of my mentors there is a guy named Roy Schrader, Dr. Roy Schrader, kinesiological professor. He comes up to me and says, let's write a book. And I said, what? He says, let's write a book on karate and kinesiology, why exactly movements happen. And I said, fine, okay. Now, in the educational field, I'm sure you've heard of this, it's publish or perish, right?
Yep.
Well, it's funny. I'm a graduate assistant, and my book was published.
Nice.
And it was published in 1973, and it was still in print 1995.
Wow.
Yep, they were still in print, still being used until 1995.
That's cool.
Yeah. So I went, wow. So after that, and then I moved out to Los Angeles and started doing films out there, and then Unique Publications. Dave Cater at that time was Curtis Wong, and Dave Cater said, let's do a book on the way you fight, Bill. I said, okay. And we did the book, it's called Dynamic Stretching and Kicking. And it was a #1 seller for several years for unique publications.
Yep.
Then after that, we did one called The Ultimate Kick.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's cool. You're still doing seminars all around the U.S., around the world. What?
Yeah.
Just a few examples. What could someone expect if they went to one of your seminars? What are they going to see? What are they going to learn?
A little bit of why something happens. I go through the kinesiological aspect of flexibility, how to get flexible, why we need that flexibility, not just flexibility, but the agility within the flexibility, how to use that flexibility. People think flexibility is from the kick up. It's not. It's not the kick up, it's the kick out. So you can get reach. So, and some of the strengthening exercises of doing the kicking movements, the 3 kicks that I use, the side kick, the roundhouse kick, and hook kick, how I use those 3 kicks in combination, and then how I use the front hand to keep you away. If you've ever sparred with somebody, the worst thing that can happen to a kicker is you get too close to me.
Yep.
That's why I work the jab and the back fist a lot, which keeps you away from me, so I can work those kicking techniques.
Okay. How many Superfoot system schools are there right now?
Right now, we're almost 40.
Wow.
Yeah, doing good. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Is there one in Minnesota?
No, there not yet. I've done a lot of things. Where are you in Minnesota?
So I'm in Moorhead. I'm straight up the interstate near Fargo, North Dakota.
You're close to Fargo, yeah.
Yep. You've been to Alexandria, haven't you?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yep. That's 90 miles away from me.
Okay. It's cold up there.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Been to the Diamond Nationals a couple times with Larry Carnahan. I've sparred a couple of his guys. I've sparred with John Longstreet a couple times, exhibitions and things like that.
That's actually where I met you. I met you at the Diamond Nationals, and I think it was 1991. You did a seminar there.
Oh, good.
I think I was 16 or 17 years old. So.
Oh, wow. Did I do that? Did I do the exhibition match with John?
I'm trying to remember. You did the seminar the Friday night, I know.
Yeah, did that Saturday night. He did an exhibition with John.
I think you did, because I remember meeting John Longstreet too. So that might have been the same one. I actually still have a magazine. I just found it about a month ago. I found the magazine that I had you sign. So.
Oh wow! Well, thank you.
Oh yeah, definitely. So, what are 1 or 2 tips you would give someone? Let's say someone got a hold of you. They've never done martial arts in their life, and they're looking to getting involved, and they're just wondering, hey, what's 1 or 2 things I should maybe look for in an instructor, or maybe something I should avoid?
Make sure you can have some fun.
Nice.
Because if you're not having any fun, it gets old real quick. That's why people quit. They come in there, they have an attitude of what they think martial arts is. But think about this. This is between you and I and the people who are listening. Mm-hmm. If you really wanted to find out how bad you were, how tough you were, you get somebody out there, put the gloves on, and beat the crap out of each other.
Yep.
But we want to find some nice, sneaky, mystical way of defeating the enemy. With that judo chop, or that double jumping spinning back kick that's going to take somebody's head off.
Touch of death.
Yep. Oh, yeah. But, dim mock.
Yep.
But it's not going to happen. So you have to explain to the people that you're going to learn these techniques. We're going to teach you a whole bunch of techniques, several techniques. And what your job to do is find 3 or 4 of those techniques that you've been taught that you like, that you can do, and perfect those. Not all of them, just some of them.
Yep.
Because, I'm left-handed. I fight left side forward. Mm-hmm. I have the world's shittiest reverse punch with my right hand. Really. I mean, I you could say, hit this, and I'd say, okay, and I can make a bag sing. I can make a heavy bag sing, but I can't punch anybody with it.
Wow.
I just don't have the confidence.
Okay.
Yep. But I do have a good jab, and I have a good left hook.
Nice. I think I've had a handful of guests say that. The first guest I had talk about that was James DeMille, who trained with Bruce Lee back in the, and he said that same thing. He said Bruce Lee had his toolbox. You learned like 3, 4, 5 techniques that you perfected, and that was your toolbox. And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, that's actually, and I think about that. It's the same way I am. Even I've studied martial arts since I was 10, but there's like 2 or 3 techniques that I consider my best. And they've changed. Some of those techniques have changed as I've gotten older and stuff. I used to have one that was a jumping kick, a jump spinning knife foot to the head, but obviously I'm 49. I'm not going to do that probably anymore. So now I do a jump turning side kick's my best kick, which I've perfected over the last 15 years probably. So
yeah, young kids, the first thing you would do is do that double jump and spinning back kick.
Yep.
Till they find out they fall on their butt every time they throw it.
Yep.
And they find out after a while it doesn't work.
Exactly.
So then they go, well, maybe I'll try that front kick, or maybe I'll try that back fist reverse punch. The funny thing is, the first 2 techniques we've ever been taught was the back fist and the reverse punch, right? Mm-hmm. And point tournaments to this day, the number one technique in point tournaments throughout the entire world is back fist reverse punch.
Really?
Yep. Oh, I was at a major karate tournament a couple of months ago. I watched 10 final matches. In 10 final matches, I saw 2 side kicks thrown.
Wow.
That's it.
Really?
No roundhouse kicks, no spinning kicks, no axe kicks, just 2 side kicks. And they were defensive side kicks.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know.
My core system is traditional Taekwondo. So like when our tournaments, it's 50% kicks, 50% hands. I've seen tournaments won by punching. I've seen tournaments won by kicking, and it's a nice blend, which I enjoy.
Yeah. But in open tournaments now, you know, they call so many different techniques. You know, if I touch you someplace before you touch me, I get the point.
Yeah.
And a back fist reverse punch, you know, I throw the back fist to your head. You got to lift your hand to block it. Then I throw the reverse punch to the body, and that's my point. Even if it hits, it's a point.
That's crazy. So I know I mentioned at the intro you were a commentator on the original UFC back in '93. So I'm just kind of curious your thoughts, you know, on kind of, were you more a fan of like the original UFC back in the '90s, or what it's become now?
I never thought it was going to go.
Okay.
I watched it. I was a commentator on it. Remember back in the first one, it was no holds barred basically.
Yep.
And no time limit.
Mm-hmm.
You know, these guys are, sometimes you're out there 20, 30 minutes, these guys fighting each other.
Yep.
And with my wrestling background, what people don't understand is when you're laying on your back, you don't have any power punching up.
Right.
And Hoist Gracie, now this, the funny thing too is when I said, yeah, I'll be glad to do it, I didn't know that the R is an H.
Yeah, Hoist.
You know, I'm a Brazilian, so I'm calling him Royce and Rorian and all. And I said, during the middle of it, in the middle of the commentary, they said, the R is an H. Oh, thanks. Now, so now it's Horian, Hoist and all. But there's a guy sitting beside now. I have a black belt in judo. So I'm sitting there watching the fights, and this guy's standing right beside me telling me what to tell the people. They're telling me what Hoist is going to do before he even does it.
Oh, wow.
So I'm going, whoa, hold on. I said, you know, I know what a choke is. I know what you're calling it a bare naked choke. I call it a Dr. Jimmy. It's a Dr. Jimmy is a naked choke.
Mm-hmm.
Jimmy is choke. So I went, okay. So I listened to all that stuff. Then when, if you watch it, when I'm there with Jim Brown and Kathy,
yep.
And this sumo wrestler loses his balance and drops down on his hands and knees, right? This guy from Holland hits him with a roundhouse kick in the face, breaks his tooth off. Yep. And the tooth was flying over my head.
Yep.
And I went, what the hell was that? And it was a tooth. And hit him full force. The guy's head didn't even move. The head did not move. Wow. Then he stepped in and punched him right in the mouth, punched him right in the mouth as hard as he could punch him in the mouth. And the head still didn't move. The sumo wrestler stood up. And I went, uh-oh. But they called the fight. Now, there's no blood, nothing else, but they called the fight. And I said, why'd they call the fight? You know, usually it's a knockout or submission or something like that. They stopped the fight. And I went, whoa. And what happened is when he kicked him in the face, he broke his foot. And when he punched him in the face, he broke his hand.
Wow.
So, but they gave him the fight. Mm-hmm. And another thing too, you ever play judo?
I did it for about 6 months when I was younger.
Okay. You learn when you play judo that the uniform is a weapon.
Yes.
Right? Okay. Now, if you notice at the first one, now this gets me in trouble, and I apologize right from the very go, but it's just my thoughts because I'm a judo player too. Mm-hmm. Here you have, these guys are not allowed to wear any wraps at all. If you look at them, there's no hand wraps, no ankle wraps, nothing. Yep. Only one was allowed to wear a glove was the boxer.
Yep. Art Jimerson.
He was only allowed to wear one glove. Couldn't wear both of them, just one. But Hoist was allowed to wear his entire uniform.
Yep.
Now, when he fought Ken Shamrock, the argument was when Ken Shamrock came in for a takedown, Hoist choked him out with his own belt. And they stand up and they can't do it. They can't say, oh, sure I can. This is my weapons right here. This is my uniform. So that took care of all that stuff.
Yep.
And, what my question was, the reason I only did the one, my question was afterwards is, how come you didn't get a collegiate wrestler? How come you didn't get a wrestler in here that, number one, knows wrestling techniques other than a sumo wrestler and is a tough guy, like a heavyweight guy they're going to use?
Yep.
Well, we wanted to make it look sumo wrestlers. They don't do any punching. They don't do any kicking. They just sit down on you.
Yep.
So I said, well, that doesn't sound funny. So there were the 9 fighters and 1 sumo wrestler. But Hoist choked all of his guys out. And then when he fought the Holland guy at the end, the Holland guy couldn't do anything. He had a broken foot and a broken hand.
Yep.
So Hoist took him down and just properly choked him out. Yeah. And at the end of it, I'm talking with Jim Brown. I said, I was impressed with Hoist because he threw one kick and choked everybody out. So
that's crazy.
But, yeah, crazy. It was a hell of an advertisement for Gracie Jiu-Jitsu.
Oh yeah, it worked. It worked.
Look
what it became now.
2-hour advertisement for Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. Yep. Gracie. Yeah, Hoist never got touched. Never got kicked. Never got punched. Here's my question to you.
Okay.
You do martial arts. You do Taekwondo, right?
Yep.
Okay. Now you think about this if you want to erase it or not.
Mm-hmm.
These guys were brand new fighters. All of them were stand-up fighters. As a stand-up fighter, I was never taught to tap out.
Right.
Were you ever taught to tap out?
No, only when I started learning jiu-jitsu.
Son of a gun.
Yep.
Now, these guys were told, evidently, if something happens and you get choked out or something like this, go ahead and tap out. Now, during the heat of battle, and I'm beating on you and I'm choking your ass off, would you have enough common sense to tap out?
If I've never done it before, scared? No, probably not.
Exactly. That was another one of my thoughts. Hold it now. So just a thought of it. Now, just my thoughts.
No, it makes sense.
Because I've done this for a long time.
Yeah.
But they changed the rules, and now it's very, very effective. I still don't like the ground and pound because that sounds like a street fight.
Yeah. I used to watch it. I actually used to judge local MMA fights. I judged over 1,000, and I just.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I probably haven't sat and watched an MMA fight in over 7 years.
Yeah. Well, I watch them a little bit when they're on.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like to watch John Jones sometimes because he does kicking.
Yeah, definitely. And I've had a few of the UFC guys on my show. I have nothing but, and I actually had Fred Edish, who fought in UFC number 2 back in the day. So yeah, he was on my show. So I've had it from, all eras and stuff. And it's been, yeah, I have nothing but respect for those guys. It's just, I just don't enjoy it as much as I used to. Okay, so you've had an amazing career, amazing life. You've met and trained with so many amazing martial artists. So who are 3, 4, 5 names you would put on your personal Mount Rushmore of martial arts?
Mount Rushmore?
Yep.
Martial arts. Number 1, Chuck Norris.
Nice.
Number 2, Joe Louis.
Cool.
I believe Ed Parker.
Nice.
I think Jun Rhee would be at the top of it also because of his bringing the Taekwondo to America.
Definitely.
And you might even say there's several. Robert Trias,
mm-hmm.
United States Karate Association. You got somebody like Bruce Lee. There's so many friends. Guys that have fought with me
mm-hmm.
over the last 60 years.
Yeah.
Just it's such a fraternity.
Yeah. That
you might not like each other, but you might have bad things to say about each other. But when it comes right down to it, we'll go have a drink together.
Nice. Yeah, I was looking through your list of all your fights, and I've 2 of the people you fought have been on my show. So I've had
who's that?
Yeah, Joe Corley and Pat Worley have both been on my show. So
Pat. This is so funny. I fought Pat in Indianapolis, Indiana. I think it was 76, 77.
77, October 8th, 1977.
77. Yep. Yeah, 77. And we had fought a couple times in point tournaments, and I'd won. And I was a really good point fight. I was quick, I was
mm-hmm.
fast. And then don't take this the wrong way, but when we fought and I won the fight, I'm going to say how I won the fight. But when I won the fight, he hadn't talked to me in 10 years.
Really?
Hadn't said one word to me in 10 years. We'd be at tournaments and he wouldn't talk to me. We'd be someplace and he wouldn't talk to me. Finally, about 2 years ago, we're at Jim Harrison's funeral up in Missoula, Montana.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "Hi, Pat." And he says, "Hi, Bill. How are you doing?" I said, "Do you know this is the first time you've talked to me and since we fought?" And he says, "Really?" And I said, "You know it is." And he says, "Well, I was fighting it so bad that I never wanted to think you were that good, but you were."
Wow.
And I said, and the funny thing is, if you talk to my friends, if you talk to people I fought, I was never Billy Bad Butt.
Mm-hmm.
I just like the competition. And if somebody's going to get hit when we fight, I'd rather it be you.
That makes sense.
I was fast. I was quick. I was strong. And I just used that. Plus, with my competitiveness from the wrestling and the judo, I had really, really good distance.
Nice. So in all your years of martial arts, is there one philosophy you've learned that rises to the top? It's at the top of your list. Still use it?
Yep. Have a blast.
Nice. I like that.
If you don't have fun, any training you do, whether it be, if you want to go shopping if you go shopping and you're not having any fun, you'll leave. You'll find some reason to leave.
Yep.
And same thing, what martial arts is for us nowadays, we have to compete with volleyball. Yep. We have to complete soccer, basketball, all these other sports that are basically designed to have fun. Mm-hmm. But martial arts, you're actually learning something. Martial arts, you're learning how to, number one, defend yourself. Mm-hmm. But also, it's a way of life. You go through life calm. You go through life relaxed. You go through life, whatever it may seem. When I studied in Okinawa, our instructor, Eizo Shimabuku, walked around with a bamboo shinai and beat the shit out of you.
I've heard stories.
But it made you tough. Yep. It made you say, well, that doesn't hurt as much as you think it does. Mm-hmm. When I was a kid, younger, I never wanted to get hit. I saw movies. I saw people get hit. And I went, wow, that doesn't look fun at all. Then all of a sudden I find out when you do get hit, it's not the end of the world. It might hurt a little bit, might sting, but it's not the end of the world.
Right.
So you find out all kinds of things like that. I hate needles. Mm-hmm. My wife will tell you, I am scared to death of needles.
Okay.
And I'd rather you punch me in the mouth than give me a shot.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. Oh, but over the years, because of being, 77 years old, I've had to take inoculations. I had to take vaccinations and so forth. And, it's not that bad. I had to give blood. You get blood tests every year and so on. So I've learned to put up with that a little bit. I still don't like it, but it's not, it's going to ruin my whole day. I've been doing seminars now for 50-some years.
Wow.
And it's a blast. I mean, everybody will tell you, I probably have more fun than the people in the seminar have. And I probably kick as much, if not more, than the people in the seminar do. Because I'm always trying to teach them my way, not the right way, my way.
Right.
And if I do it wrong, I'm going to keep doing it till I do it right. Nice. That's my training part of it.
That's cool. All right. I have a few fun questions to wrap it up here. Now, this one, you can't pick one of your own. Do you have a favorite martial arts book?
Favorite martial arts book?
Yep. That you didn't write.
Okay. God, I can't say mine. Korean karate.
Nice. Okay. I think you're the second one that said that. So.
Do you know why they call it Korean karate?
I've heard a few different versions of the story. So
the reason he called it Korean karate, because when he first came to the United States, nobody knew. They knew what karate was, but they didn't know what taekwondo was.
Exactly.
So they called it Korean karate.
And I'm glad you pronounce it taekwondo, because it drives me crazy when people call it taekwondo. My instructor would give us push-ups if we called it taekwondo.
Yeah. Well, it's if you do it right, it's taekwondo.
Yep.
It's not tay. It's ta, like TEH or something like that. Taekwondo.
All right. How about now? This is another one. You can't pick one that you've been in. A favorite martial arts TV show.
Oh wow. Okay. Hold on. Jade. What's that movie with Matt Damon we like? That I like.
The Bourne Identity.
Yeah, the Bourne Identity. I like that.
Okay, well, that's a movie. That was actually the next question. Do you have a TV show?
TV.
Were you a fan of Kung Fu? Or?
Not Kung Fu so much, but I liked not Marlo. Goddamn,
Marlo was good.
The one Kato. What's the one?
Green Hornet.
Green Hornet.
Okay,
Green Hornet. Yes,
nice.
Because I was in the service. I was at Norton Air Force Base, California, when the Green Hornet was popular.
Very cool.
Here's a story for you. I'm working for Elvis Presley, right? 1970, probably 74, 75. He calls me up and says, get out to the house. Come out to the house. I want to talk to you. I said, what'd I do? So I drive out to the house. At that time, his father had just married a lady named Dee. She had two sons named David Stanley and Billy Stanley. Mm-hmm. Billy was the elder one, and he was at a bar. And he was trying to pick up this girl. And he kept telling this girl that, hey, I'm Elvis Presley's brother. I'm this, I'm that. And she said, leave me alone. That's my boyfriend right there. Leave me alone. And he kept saying, well, you know who I am? So the boyfriend came over and beat him up.
Jeez. Okay.
He comes home and tells Elvis what happened. So he calls me up. I show up and we find out where this guy lives, because Elvis knew people, We find out where this guy lives. Red West, Sonny West, and myself show up at this guy's house.
Wow.
We go knock on the door. The guy opens the door. We knock the door in we walk. Now, understand, this is illegal.
Yes.
Highly illegal. And we're there. I said, well, time out. Let's just find out what happened. So I said, who beat him up? And this guy said, I did. I said, why? And the guy said, because he was trying to pick up my girlfriend. He was touching her, playing around with her. We told him to leave her alone, and he wouldn't leave her alone. And we know this for a fact because the guy's Billy's a shit. About that time, Red West turns this other guy in the room. There's two guys in the room. Hits this guy with a sidekick, knocks him against the refrigerator. And he slides down the refrigerator. All of a sudden, I hear, do you hear that?
Mm-hmm.
And I look around. This guy's out of 30-06 lever action carbine pointed at me, not at anybody else, at me. And his hands are shaking. And Red's going to hit him again. I said, hey, Red, stop it. Leave him alone. So I turn it, and as I turn around, I leave the TV on. Kung Fu's on. The TV show Kung Fu's on while this guy's got this 30-06 pointed at my head.
Wow.
So I tell him, I said, put the gun down. Nothing's going to happen. All we want to know is what happened because Elvis is worried about his brother-in-law. The guy says, it really is Elvis's brother? It's his brother-in-law. Oh, well, okay. So he apologized, and I said, so we left the house. And I left the house, and I go, you know what? I came about 1 second of dying. If Red, leave these people alone. And Red, you know who Red West is?
Oh, yeah.
Red is Elvis's chief of security. They were best friends in high school.
Mm-hmm.
They would come down to the karate school that Elvis had, and I would spar with Red. Red is probably the one toughest son of a bitch I've ever seen in my life.
Yep.
I would hit him with a kick, drilling with it. I mean, hard as I could hit him with it. And as he's going down, he'd try to grab my leg and pull himself up my leg.
Wow.
And I'd shake my leg, get off me. And when Elvis would do exhibition demonstrations, he would work Red and just beat the tar out of Red. And Red just took everything. I go, wow. So,
that's great.
It was, but yeah, so TV series Kung Fu, and I like Greek one and that stuff.
You're the second person that told me how tough Red West was. I had Marshall Teague on the show, and he could not say enough nice things about. Yep.
Marshall worked out with us in Memphis.
Yeah, Marshall was a great guy. Super good guy.
Yeah, he's super good. Yeah, super.
Nice.
Yep.
All right, here's a fun question. This one doesn't have to be a martial arts movie. It can be any movie, just a favorite movie fight scene.
Hold on.
I've had people say anything from Star Wars to comic book movies to The Princess Bride to Enter the Dragon and everything in between. So anything goes.
Let me think about 2 seconds now.
No problem.
Favorite fight scene. Well, if you go back my mind just went blank. Give me some of the other guys that said some of their fights. I'll tell you.
I'm trying to think. Well, some old ones. A few people have said like Kurosawa movies. Someone said the fight in Billy Jack. Rocky, I think, was one of them.
Well, I'm terrible at that because I look at fight scenes, and because I did a lot of choreography, I look at fight scenes and I said, well, that would never happen. That would never happen. If you think about the Rocky movie, the first one,
yep,
that would have been stopped about the second round.
Yep.
And the one with Billy Jack,
mm-hmm.
Why would he take his shoes off?
Exactly.
If you're going to kick somebody in the head, wouldn't you want to wear a pair of boots to do it with?
I would want to.
All right. Yeah, very much so, because those heels are awful hard in cowboy boots.
Yep. Nice.
But let me see. Let me think of one. Well, the fights, can I use mine?
Mm-hmm.
The fight scene that I did with Chuck Norris.
Yeah.
In the ring, I really liked.
Okay. That's a good one.
Because Chuck and I choreographed that ourselves.
Nice.
Yeah.
Here's a weird question for you from Dana Abbott. He told me to ask you if you still like maple donuts.
Maple donuts are absolutely fantastic. You have to understand something. No, listen to me. Don't laugh. It's not funny. Well, it is. But there are several food types, right? Several food groups.
Uh-huh.
I like the one called junk.
Okay.
Now, donut. There's only one reason for a donut, is that's to taste good.
Yep.
They're not nutritional valuable for you at all. Matter of fact, bread has no nutritional value at all. I've had friends that call bread white dust. Basically, it has no nutritional value until you put maple frosting on it. Now you put maple frosting and it has some nutritional value because it tastes good.
There you go.
But good thing about it is we work it off.
That's right.
Understand this. People, now I'll give you a nutritional lesson right now.
Okay.
I eat a lot of hamburgers, a lot of French fries, and drink a lot of Cokes and ice cream.
Okay.
Hamburgers, I eat absolutely plain. So the only thing there is the meat and the bun.
Okay.
Sometimes if it's a big hamburger, I'll take the bottom bun off and just use the top bun.
Okay.
I don't eat anything on them, so all my nutritional value is from the meat itself. And important thing that you understand is hamburgers have grease in them.
Yes.
And if you ever watched me do a seminar, when I did a seminar in Minneapolis,
Mm-hmm.
you notice you did not hear one squeak.
Nope.
My hips don't squeak at all.
Mm-hmm.
So, but then you have to understand there's grease after a while solidifies. That's why we eat hamburger. That's why we eat French fries, because French fries are cooked in a nice soluble oil, right?
Yep.
In a nice soluble oil. When you mix the grease with the French fry oil, it becomes a nice soluble liquid that when it dissipates down through your joints becomes a great lubrication. But then you have this aftertaste in your mouth.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we eat ice cream, to get rid of that aftertaste.
Okay.
But then if you have the ice cream, you have this milky taste in your mouth. It's a sticky type taste, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's why you wash it down with a nice Coca-Cola or a Pepsi-Cola.
Okay.
There's a reason for all that stuff.
Hey, that works. I like that.
Thank you.
The Superfoot diet.
It's a joke. When I retired from fighting in 1980, I weighed 165 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
In 2023, I still weigh 165 pounds.
Wow. That's impressive.
Haven't gained a pound. So that's the good part.
That is a good thing.
Ironically enough, my mother saved a lot of my military stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I can still wear my fatigues from 1967.
Wow.
It's kind of funny.
That is funny. That's kind of cool, though.
Yeah. All the stuff I can still wear.
Nice. All right. Before I let you go, I've been waiting to do this for 30 years. I have my Bill Wallace story. I've talked about it on my show, but I've never told the story because I wanted to wait until you were on the show to tell a story. And you may remember it, you may not. It happened when you did the seminar at the Diamond National. So I'm going to tell the story and we'll see if you remember it. Me and my buddies drove, I think I was 16 or 17 years old. And me and a couple of buddies drove down that Friday night. We wanted to go to the seminar. We wanted to meet you. We went through the seminar and had a blast. So fast forward to the Saturday, and of course, at the Diamond Nationals, they had the big vendor area where all Atomics and Black Belt Magazine and Century all had tables. And me and my friend Jason were walking around and looking at stuff. And my friend Jason stops me and he's like, dude, he goes, there's Jim McMahon. I'm like, what? I wasn't a football fan. I actually had no idea who Jim McMahon was until I saw him. And I'm like, oh yeah, he was in that movie, Johnny Be Good. He's like, there's Jim McMahon. So I'm like, all right, cool. So we walked over. And my friend Jason was a huge football fan, big Chicago Bears fan. He's like, Mr. McMahon, I am such a huge fan of yours. I'm just wondering if I can get like an autograph or a picture or something. And he looks at my friend Jason kind of disgusted. He's like, I'm not here for that kid, and just walks away. And we're like, what a jerk. We spent the next probably 2-3 minutes just ripping on Jimmy. Like, we don't like him. We hate the Chicago Bears, and just kind of ignored him. And about 10 minutes later, we were over by the Atomics table looking at shoes. And also we look, and you were standing next to us. You're looking, you go, hey guys, how you doing? Hope you had fun last night at the seminar. We're like, yeah, we did. And kept looking. And about 2 minutes later, Jim McMahon comes walking up to the table, and he walks up to you and he says, Mr. Wallace, I'm such a huge fan of yours. I followed your career. I'm wondering if I can get an autograph. And you look over at us and wink, and you look at Jim McMahon and say, I'm not here for that kid. And you walked away.
Yeah, I remember that. Didn't I have him sign something for you then?
I don't remember. I don't think so. I don't know.
I thought I said something. I said, "Oh, if you sign their autograph, I'll sign yours."
You might have, you might have did that for my friend Jason. But we high five. I mean, Jim McMahon just dropped his mouth. He's like, "What?" And we high fived each other, and we were like, "Bill Wallace is the coolest man in the world." And we never got to thank you for that. So that was pretty awesome.
You are quite welcome.
That was so cool.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
But no, this has been such an honor, a dream come true. You were when I decided to do this show over 2 years ago, you were one of the first people on my list. I was just hoping someday I'd be able to get you on the show. And I'm so glad we were able to do this. I've had such a blast listening to you tell stories and hearing about your life. And I'm hoping maybe next time you're in Minnesota, I can get down to one of your seminars. It would be a blast. But before I let you go, is there anything that I forgot to mention? And I'll put links for your website and everything out there for people to check out your seminars. But anything I forgot to mention you want to get out there before I let you go?
Okay. It's bill@superfootsystem.com.
Yep.
So everybody, give me a out, say hi to me. But if you're taking martial arts, have a blast. It's so much fun. It's something that you can actually do forever. It's like golf. You can't play from the tips, but you can play from the red tees. You play from the gold tees. Chip it up, But martial arts is forever. You can do it. It's a blast. Yep. I still love it.
That's cool. Well, from the bottom of my heart, I want to thank you so much for taking the time. I know you're a busy man, and I so appreciate this, and I've loved chatting with you, and I can't wait till the episode comes out. It'll be about a month. It'll be, I think, second week in April when this episode will come out, but I can't wait for people to hear it.
Sounds good. Thank you very much.
Thanks for listening to Everyday Martial Artist. We hope you will join us every week for a brand new episode with a different martial artist telling their story. If you enjoy the show, be sure to leave us a review. Also, be sure to check out our website at everydaymartialartist.com. There you can find all of our episodes and contact us to suggest guests and ask questions. Again, thanks for listening to Everyday Martial Artist, and we'll see you next week.